America is a rich country, and yet amidst such wealth, there is poverty. The media keep telling me there's terrible poverty.
More than 46 million people lived in poverty last year.
That does sound terrible, but what does poverty mean in America today?
Poverty stinks.
I recently stopped by this food kitchen in Harlem. People line up for free food. Most want government to do more for them.
Give us more jobs and more opportunities for those less fortunate.
Government should just create a job.
Create jobs, yeah, create more jobs.
More food stamps?
More food stamps.
More welfare?
More welfare.
These people say they're poor, but in America these days, poverty is not what you may think it is.
I'm not exactly poor, but I'm not exactly rich either.
In today's America, most poor people have cars, air conditioning, cell phones, and televisions.
Yes, I have a TV.
Yeah, I have a television.
You have air conditioning?
Yes.
Cable TV?
Yeah.
How many channels?
101.
How many?
101. Play games on it mostly.
Game player, video player?
Yeah, I play video games.
You have a cell phone?
Yeah, of course I do. Got to keep in touch with the family.
A report by the Heritage Foundation found today 99.6% of poor people have a refrigerator. 97% have a TV. 65% more than one. Most have cable. Most have cell phones and air conditioning. Now, I don't claim that TVs and air conditioning are all that people need, and many poor people have a hard life. Some of the people I interviewed outside that soup kitchen said they were homeless. My point is that the propaganda about American poverty has led to a fat welfare state that hurts everyone, encourages dependency. Some say we've created a nation of moochers, people addicted to getting something for nothing. In fact, that's the title of a new book by radio host Charles Sykes. So, moochers?
Well, I think it's time to get rid of the euphemisms. It's not about fairness. It's not about sharing the wealth. I mean, the reality is that's an old-fashioned word that says that some people just simply have their hand out and they want something for nothing. And one of the things that I think we need to do is start calling things by their real name.
So let's talk about the real numbers. The poverty line at the moment is $22,000 for a family of four.
Right.
Sounds quite low, hard to live that way.
Right. But part of the problem, though, is that we don't count all the money they get from the government. We don't
free stuff.
Right. We don't count
housing,
all the exactly.
Medical care, food
Right.
stamps doesn't count in that.
Right. So in fact, what you've done is you've taken out of the consideration most of the money that a lot of these individuals are getting from the rest of us. And so, yes, it looks scary, it looks bad, but the reality is that we have become a very generous society, perhaps, to a fault.
Thomas Sowell says it was more accurate to refer to the haves and the have-lots.
Well, one of the problems of poverty, as you just illustrated, is that the poor people have a lot of stuff. Now, I'm not saying there aren't people with real need, but one of the really scary numbers is that it used to be, like in 1979, that more than half of the transfer payments in this country went to the very poorest people. Now, it's about 36%, which means that the safety net has become this rather large, squishy mattress.
Still, it's the rich who get the most in dollars, I assume, all the corporate welfare, the handouts the cotton farmers get, the subsidized green entrepreneurs like Solyndra, and Mike Huckabee and I got free golf carts, $6,000 golf cart, because there's a tricky tax credit. It's expired now. But this was all to encourage people to use electric vehicles. I got flood insurance on my beach house, which I shouldn't have gotten. Isn't most of the money going to us more wealthy people?
Well, see, that's part of the problem, is we have created this mooching culture across lines of class. And this is how you create a culture of mooching. When everyone looks around and says, you know what, everyone is getting a bailout, everybody is getting a handout, it becomes very, very difficult to say no to the next person that comes up and says, well, okay, so John Stossel is getting some goodies. What about me? We bailed out the folks on Wall Street. We bailed out General Motors. What about my Main Street business? And what we've seen over the last couple of years is the inability to say no. And
I didn't say no to flood insurance.
Well, that's right.
I felt like a sucker. Everybody's getting it. I'm turning the money down.
Well, that's the key, I think, is that sucker principle. At what point do the people who play by the rules, the people who save, who work hard, who don't dip into the public trough, at what point do they look around and see everybody else getting the transfers, the benefits, and say, if I don't get in line, I'm a sucker? And that's where I think we have the tipping point, when the makers in society begin to think that they are the suckers because there are so many takers, and we've encouraged it across the board.
Though I'm encouraged that at least the talk has changed. I mean, one thing that's new in America is that more recipients of corporate welfare are at least now embarrassed. They know that some people consider them to be pigs, and today most corporate welfare queens will not agree to be interviewed by me about this. But years ago, America's biggest recipient of corporate welfare flew me out to his headquarters so he could arrogantly dismiss me. Here's a look at Dwayne Andreas of Archer Daniels Midland. You're a pig feeding at the welfare trough.
Why should I care?
Doesn't bother you?
Not a bit.
It was just, okay, that's the deal. We get the money. I don't think a CEO would do that today.
No, but in fact, we have a lot of business executives who go to Washington and frankly have decided maybe that it's more important to grease the right palms or to get the right subsidy, either the bailout or the tax break. That is more important than creating a quality product. And what you saw there is that mentality. And as long as
it's hard to work to create a better product.
It is.
But to spend $5 million to get $1 billion from government.
Absolutely. The return on investment of getting on an airplane and going in and sucking up to some United States senators is fantastic if you can get billions of dollars. And unfortunately, I think in this bailout period that we've been in, we've seen companies be more successful by going and currying favor and getting money from the rest of us than companies that have just, frankly, done it the old-fashioned way.
In your book, you write a riff called I Piggy Bank.
Yes. I pay for the bridge to nowhere. I pay for studies on Chinese prostitutes. I pay for other people's orthodontia. I pay for all of these things that you realize that
to bail out AIG?
Exactly. I pay for AIG. I pay public employees for their exorbitant salaries. And this is that tipping point of being the sucker.
Bank.
I am the
Thank
piggy.
you.
That is my role.
Pay for my flood insurance.
I pay all of these taxes. So my only function here, you're not celebrating my success. You're not celebrating my entrepreneurial zeal, my risk-taking. What you're looking at me is like, hey, can I turn you into a piggy bank? How can I get more money from you?
Last point. You say America shouldn't infantilize its citizens.
Right.
What do you mean?
This assumption that we can't handle it, that we all need to be moochers. That basically says, you know what? We are going to create this social welfare state that treats us as dependents, treats us as we're permanent children.